It's been a while, but welcome back, my dear hunter. I've got something lined up for today that may not be a supposed game changer, but it is still a feature of the game that I appreciate, and perhaps you as well. I wanted to tackle insight, how it works, what does it do, and are there any advantages or missed content you may not have noticed? To get the ball rolling, let's talk about what insight is. From a lore perspective, insight is the knowledge gained that isn't supposed to be known by humans, or things that the human mind simply cannot comprehend. From a mechanic perspective, insight is a currency, but also a factor in what enemies you find, what attacks some enemies can do, what sounds you may hear, and even what things you may see.
Hi there!
The level of insight plays a role in this, as just having one point of insight won't be enough to see everything. There are different levels of insight you'll have to achieve in order to find the content. So starting at 0, which may already be obvious, if you play through the game like this, you won't find anything that you would have if you did have insight, up until you trigger the blood moon, which then there's only some things that become visible. At 0 insight, I also won't be usable unless you level up with me one time by having 1 insight. You can spend that insight, or have it sucked out of you, and still level with me. So don't fret if you simply can't gain or find any more laying around. There is an advantage to this, however. The Witches of Hemwick boss fight won't be nearly as bad, as it really turns into a joke when you enter in with 0 insight. FYI, when you enter the boss arena for the first time with 0 insight, you'll be given insight to fight the boss how they intended you to. But if you quit out, spend your insight, or get it sucked out of you, you can return to the arena and fight the easiest boss fight in the game. At 1 insight, the Insight Bath Messenger Shop, which is where obviously the insight can be used as a currency, will become available for the rest of the playthrough and allow you to interact with me fully animated rather than a leaning ragdoll. Other than these 2 things, this is all that having 1 insight offers. With 15 insight, we start to see certain enemies use different attacks and visually see their weapons change slightly. The church doctors in Cathedral Ward's lamps will appear to have eyeballs stuck to them. They'll also be able to fire off small projectiles from these lamps as new attacks. The other variants of church doctors who are also affected are the Scythe and Cross variants. The Scythe variant will gain a blue flame aura around their scythe, while also gaining arcane damage to their attacks. As for the Cross variant, it will gain a red aura around their weapon and develop a more potent frenzy built up when attacking you, my dear hunter. We also get to see a certain enemy spawn with this amount of insight called the Mad One. In Hemwick Charnel Lane, as you walk through in certain areas, Mad Ones will spawn as you walk by, which while they're not anything too hard in comparison with other enemies, they can be a little annoying at times. With 30 insight, while we don't see an awful too much change, we do get to hear something new. Within the Nightmare Frontier, or any other place containing the Winter Lantern enemy, you'll from time to time hear them sing a distorted portion of Murgo's lullaby. With 40 insight, we start to see some big changes at Cathedral Ward and at the gate of Yahargul. These celestial beings are known as lesser amygdalas, and I wouldn't recommend getting close unless you have either the tonsil stone for the one in Yahargul or the eye of a blood-drunk hunter for the one in Cathedral Ward. When you acquire 50 insight, the theme inside of the hunter's dream will change to the theme that would have been heard if the blood moon phase was triggered. While 50 is a lot of insight to just carry around, perhaps any music enjoyers would find it to be worth a listen. Speaking of, I'll let you listen to the difference here. Finally, at 60 insight, you get to hear something that can be heard anywhere in the game except the hunter's dream. Throughout the game, you'll be able to hear the cries of a baby, which is presumed to be Murgo, an infant great one, and the child of Queen Yarnam and Odin, who also happens to be a great one. Here's what you may hear once you reach 60 insight. Now, there is another feature I haven't been able to discover yet at a certain insight level, but currently to my knowledge, at an unknown level of insight, you can hear the doorkeeper, who you have to tell the password to after defeating Vicar Amelia, complaining about a beast bite and the door he guards over. This may be something I try to discover for you hunters, so while you're at it, why not subscribe and keep the hunter's bell notifications on, so you won't miss it perhaps. As a side note to all this, now that you understand that there are levels of insight at which you gain the ability to see and hear these features, the new additions stack. If you, my dear hunter, had 30 insight, you'd still be able to see what 15 insight has to offer. This is the same with every next tier of insight you gain, so by getting up to 60, you'll be able to see and hear it all, aside from the doorkeeper as far as my knowledge goes. But 60 is a pretty big number to achieve when getting insight, but there are plenty of ways you can gain it. Personally, I want to note that farming insight the fastest doesn't exactly mean it's the best fit for you, because obviously, everyone plays these Souls games differently, where some may enjoy grinding through repetitive dungeons, some may rather enjoy it more from killing bosses or just playing through the game. Which is why I will explain 2 ways of insight farming that may appeal to the majority of people wanting to farm for it. To start off, let's get the obvious one out of the way. If you're a casual player, perhaps even someone who's new to the game, then maybe just playing through it to gain insight would be a better way for you to acquire it. This would allow you to experience the game first, which I highly recommend, and gain insight in the process. Quite honestly, this would be the preferred method for anyone new, at least in my opinion. The second method that may be more preferred by the hunters who have already played through the game for a little bit will require you to kill the blood-starved beast. This is so that you can acquire the Thumerian chalice when you slaughter it like a good little hunter. The chalice will then allow you to travel to a dungeon, which you will need to access from the hunter's dream by interacting with one of the gravestones there. Once you enter, you'll need to play through the dungeon fully and kill the 3 bosses, to which they each drop 2 insight apiece. The time to complete the dungeon may vary from player to player, but with those who like to cheese it, such as myself, it can roughly be gotten down to around 7 to 10 minutes. For anyone looking to gain as much as possible through items, I would suggest looking for item locations online, like Fextra Life. As one Souls player to another, Extra Life has been a big help throughout the years playing these games. You don't have to use guides and do it all solely on your own, but I just find it to be helpful. Now, with all of that in mind, I do hope any new hunters joining us found this to be a helpful, and might I say, insightful, usage of their time to learn about the mechanic and all that there is to see here in the game. And with that being said, you should go kill a few beasts, my dear hunter. It's for your own good. Hello again. I wanted to apologize. I had said in my previous video that during Christmas break, I would have more time for you guys, and I've been leaving all of you hanging for months. I shouldn't have said I was going to. It's just that things got a little busy. I can't make any promises, but I'm glad I'm back, and to the number of you that do enjoy this content, it means a lot to me that you stick around long enough to listen to me here. Thanks a lot, my dear hunters.